Hello and welcome back to the KCC channel. I'm Rob and I hope you are having a wonderful day today. Today I have 4 stories for you from the Malicious Compliance subreddit. Before we start, make sure to check out my website CanadianRob.com where you can get your own 3D printed Carmen Chameleon channel mascot. And yes, it comes with cookies. Alright, on to our first story, let's jump right in. This story comes to us from SquirrelMaster75. Sorry, you told me to leave you alone. When I was around 15 or 16, a friend and I went to the local mall on the weekend to hang out and hit the arcade. After a bit, we decided to get a drink at the food court. While we were standing in line, an older man, late 30s or early 40s, looking like he just got out of the gym, decided to cut in the line in front of us. The line was fairly long at this point, around 10 deep. They had the best lemonade in the mall. I tapped him on the shoulder and said, "Sir, we're in line here." He shot us a look and turned back around, pretty much ignoring the fact that we were there. When he got nearer to the register, he reached into his pocket to take out his wallet. As he did so, a wad of cash fell onto the floor unnoticed by him. As rude as he was, I was raised to be courteous and respectful. I picked up the cash and said, "Excuse me, sir," at which point he replied, without even turning to look at me, "Shut up and leave me the F alone." I turned back to look at the older gentleman behind us, who just smiled and shrugged. So I placed the cash in my pocket. When it was time for him to pay, he opened his wallet to discover that there was no cash in it. He quickly turned and scanned the floor. When he didn't find the money, he asked us if we'd seen him drop it. My friend said, "Can't help you. We were told to shut up and leave you the F alone." He was a bit spicy, he ranted, but in the end, he walked away without his money. Turned out, there was $147 in there, a nice haul for a broke kid in the early 90s. Another time when I was just a little older, I had gone to Wally World. I purchased something fairly inexpensive and paid the cashier. She handed me back around $87 in change. I said, "Ma'am, I think you gave me the wrong change." She looked at it and told me that she had it right. I responded, "But ma'am," she cut me off, spitting mad, and went into a rant about how she was very good at math. I let her finish and simply said, "Okay, sorry to bother you, ma'am." I then took my leave. I wonder how she felt about her math skills when she counted her drawer after her shift. What I was trying to tell her was that I had paid with a 20, not a Benjamin. Jumping down to the comment section on this one, there's one from a user called Former Philly Guy. It quotes OP when they said, "An older man, late 30s or early 40s, and they said, "Sigh, I guess I'm gonna go sit on my porch and keep kids off my lawn." Yeah, I'm kind of feeling the same way on this one. I'm 42 myself, so when somebody's saying an older man, late 30s or early 40s, oh my gosh, when did that happen? Anyway, OP, I really don't feel like you did anything wrong here. I mean, both of these people wanted to treat you like crap, so I think you just made them pay karma tax. That's all. Enjoy your money. This story comes to us from Plexidiferous. Karma is a bee, and so was she. Cross-posted elsewhere, it being Christmas time reminded me of story from quite a few years ago, from when I was a bartender in a corporate-style cookie-cutter restaurant. I mostly worked nights, but had one regular mid-shift on Fridays. We were always super busy at the bar for lunch on Fridays, and usually had quite a few of the mall workers coming in to eat then head back to work. Nearly every Friday, the same smug, borderline rude lady came in for lunch. Every time, she paid exact change, 0 tip. Maybe half the time, she would complain over some minor inconvenience, and more than a few times, got a comped meal. The more I had to wait on her, the more indignant and pissy I got. So around Christmas time, I was out and about in the mall buying for family and friends. Picked out something nice for my girlfriend at the time, a sheer top which I thought would look amazing on her, decently priced with it being on sale too. Walking up to the cashier, I was a bit surprised to run into resting bee face. Whatever, in street clothes, I felt like she barely registered who I was. Or maybe she really didn't care who was at her register, maybe both. So I handed her a $20 bill. She examines it for a moment, turned it over twice, held it up to the light even, then out comes the counterfeit pen marker. Thinking to myself, a bit excessive, no? Change should have been around $1 and change. Surprisingly, she hands out $81 plus change. She calls next in line, so I step to the side for a moment in contemplation. I could honestly feel the devil on one shoulder and angel on the other. Took me a moment or two, but I finally let my moral compass win and stepped back in front of the register. I nicely explained that there was a mistake made, but before I could continue, she shot me down and briskly told me in a semi-professional tone to get the F out of here. So I did. The way I look at it, all those lost tips and the money she just gifted me was just karma. Sucked to be her, I guess. Jumping down to the comment section on this one, there's one from a user called Prof Read a Lot. It says, "At least you tried to do the right thing. Many people would have just walked away." OP responded to this one and said, "Trust me, thought of it, but a bit of empathy hit me and to be honest, didn't like the thought of her needing to pay it back to the store. Or maybe get in trouble for being late that night. But once she glared at me and told me to get out of line, mind made up." Just like I said in the previous one, you tried to do what was right. It's not your fault if they don't want to listen to you. Sure, they're gonna run into an issue a little bit later on, but I think by them being rude to you and telling you to leave, they made their own bed, and they're gonna have to sleep in it. This story comes to us from NEA39. "I need to work slower and look busy for the boss?" You got it. For background, I have always been an incredibly hard and efficient worker, always getting things done faster than expected and going above and beyond. My program for college required us to go to class for 6 months of the year and work full-time in our field for the remaining 6 months. As a freshman in college, I got my first job at an automotive supplier. My first semester was fairly slow, mainly due to the fact that the person who was supposed to train me went on medical leave my first week there and didn't come back for almost a year, and wasn't replaced. However, in my second semester, things really took a turn for the worse. 2 key things happened at the start of my next semester. 1, I was moved to a new department. 2, the company began merging with one of their competitors. Now, when the company began the merger, they decided they were going to move everything at my site to the other company's headquarters in another nearby city. The first thing that moved was the vast majority of the equipment my new department used. The upper management made the brilliant decision to leave the 4 members of my department, 1 supervisor, 1 tech, and 2 students, at the old site until the move was complete. This meant we had essentially nothing we could work on. Here's where we get into the malicious compliance. After about 2 weeks of sitting around, my supervisor, 60 female, finally came up with a small task for me. I completed this in about 4 hours, which I thought was pretty good for something I had never done and had little training on, so I went to let her know. "Hey super, I'm done." "Done? This was supposed to take you all week. I don't have anything else for you to do now. I need you to look busy in case Box walks by. Next time I give you something to do, you need to drag it out longer so that you look busy." Now, young naive me was initially confused by getting reprimanded for working too fast, but what the boss says goes. A week or so later, I was given another task. I was to take thousands of these tiny explosive devices we use and dispose of them by detonating them in a concrete box. They were too volatile to just throw out, so they had to be discharged first. "And remember, take your time and don't go through them too fast." Now, this was obviously just busy work to get me out of the way, but the great thing with this task was that it had to take place in a back garage that nobody ever went in to avoid the obvious danger of people walking in while I was setting off controlled explosives. I could have easily hooked up 20 of these bad boys at a time and set them off every 5 to 10 minutes, finishing the whole batch in about a week, but I had to look busy. So instead, I set off about 5 to 10 of these once an hour, and spent the rest of the time on my phone playing games, watching Netflix, listening to music, etc., while getting paid over double minimum wage at the time. I managed to stretch that project for the remaining 2.5 months I was there, finishing just in time for the end of the semester. Anytime someone asked me for help on something else, I politely told them I would when I was done, but it might be a while because Super told me not to go through these too fast. They usually ended up finding some other bored student to help them. I think Super genuinely forgot I worked there by the end, because when I stopped into her office in my last week to let her know I had finished the task, she seemed very surprised and confused to see me. The company ended up paying me over $10,000, a lot of money for a student at the time, just to sit on my phone all day for 3 months. I sent an email to supervisor, boss, and HR at the end of the semester, letting them know that I would not be returning the next semester. In my best corporate language, I let them know I was leaving to pursue opportunities that would better utilize my time and skills. I found out later, when several of us ran into each other at a job fair, that all but 2 of the other students had also quit at the end of the semester out of boredom and/or uncertainty that we would even have jobs to come back to. The company did not handle the transition well and could never give us straight answers about where, when, or if we would be brought back. OP added a little update down in the comment section. It says, "Unfortunately, this whole situation basically ruined my work ethic, and I stopped going above and beyond in most situations at work. I decided it just wasn't worth it. I also got really good at looking busy without actually doing any work." Jumping down to the comment section on this one, there's one from a user called WeeWilly5. It says, "If your manager knows you are exceptional, you have the ability to actually hurt his department. If you left, then they'd only let him hire one person and expect the same amount of productivity out of his department. He knows the average person won't get half of what you got done, and so those expectations would make his life hard. The candle that burns twice as bright burns half as long." Seems like today's video is all about taking money for really not doing anything. The first 2 stories definitely were. This one is pretty much the same. But, you know, I'm of the opinion that if a large corporation wants to pay you to just sit there and not do anything, well, make as much money as you can in that time, because the rest of your time in the working world just isn't going to work that way. So enjoy it while you got it. It's not gonna last. This story comes to us from ShellLoser42. "I can't show you my ticket, you just forbade me from getting it. Hi gang, backstory. After having gone through a rather difficult period in my life, my girlfriend told me last weekend that it was time for me to try and cheer up a little, and let's go to Zwolle, which is a Dutch town in the Netherlands, just for a bit of sightseeing and maybe also to visit a friend of hers to return something she had borrowed for a while. Well, we had a great day. Plenty of things to see, nice atmosphere in the city, and when we visited her friend's place, things really clicked. We were even invited to dinner, which we happily accepted. Having remembered seeing a supermarket not too far away, I immediately suggested that we sponsor the wine, and it was a pleasant evening. We also discovered that this friend lived relatively close to a bus stop, which made things all the more easy. We left around 8 o'clock, and as luck would have it, didn't even have to wait for our train. However, this train ride turned out to be nothing but absurd. All of this played out in the Netherlands. Conversations have obviously been translated. "If you don't do as I say, I'll have to fine you." Okay then. At this time, the train isn't really crowded, so we find a place to sit and end up on a 4-seater, as I like to call it. 2 benches with a small table in between near the window, which provided room for 4 people. We both go sit near the window and chatter a bit when we finally notice a weird pamphlet on the table reading something like "phone-free compartment," but neither of us give it much thought. We chatter a bit until the next station is announced, the one where we need to get off and hop onto another train that will actually take us home. My girlfriend tells me that she's going to check the schedule to see where we need to go, and she grabs her phone. I thank her, and then I suddenly remember that I have read something about those flyers the week before, so I grab my phone to check a local newspaper. Suddenly, things got completely absurd. "Madam, you need to put that phone away," someone calls out, and before we know it, the conductor is standing next to us while addressing my girlfriend. We both look up surprised. "Why?" she asks. "This is a phone-free zone. You're not allowed to use your phone here. If you want to use your phone, you need to go sit somewhere else," he answers. "What kind of idiot came up with that stupid idea?" I ask him. and it actually looks as if he took offense to my comment. This was thought up by 2 students who want to help improve the world, the conductor answers. Instead of looking at your phone all the time, you could be interacting with other people, which is also much healthier. I look at my girlfriend, she looks at me, I wink and tell the conductor, "You want me to talk to her? Everyone knows that talking to women is scary," which is almost immediately met with hard laughter behind us. My girlfriend retorts, "Yeah, I don't want to talk to him. All I want to do is check the NS app to see what platform I need for getting my connection." "You'll have to do that somewhere else, or you could ask me," the conductor answers. "This is lousy customer service," my girlfriend retorts, while this dude is starting to look angry. "It is what it is. Either you two put your phones away or I'll have to issue a fine." "Fine," I snap, while I put my phone away when I suddenly realize something. I grin and once again wink at my girlfriend while patting my phone, which is now in my pocket. My patting also suddenly made her realize the obvious. "Now that we got this out of the way, can I see your tickets please?" the conductor asks. "Nope," I tell him. "You just told me not to, and I don't want to risk getting fined." Now visibly angry. "What the heck is that supposed to mean? I did no such thing. You don't have a ticket, is that it?" he snaps at me. I again pat my chest. I don't travel that often, so I always purchase my tickets using the app, which is on my phone, and you just told me that I can't use it. "So, I can't show you my ticket," I tell him. The guy looks flabbergasted. No, this is different. You need to show me your ticket," he says. My girlfriend chimes in, "So that you can write him a fine for using his phone? No thank you. You can't apply the rules like you please. And you just clearly told us that we're not allowed to use our phones," she said. I continue, "And what guarantees do I have that you won't just fine me later anyway? You obviously like to apply the rules as you please." "Ladies and gentlemen, we're now arriving at Anaheim Station," a voice suddenly says over the intercom. "Oh, that's my stop," my girlfriend says, and gets up to walk towards the exit. "Cool, mine too," I say, and follow her while ignoring the sputtering from the conductor. We caught our connection in the nick of time, despite having to search for the platform, and that was the end of that weird ordeal. Aftermath. Thing is, I did get a little upset over all that nonsense, because this isn't a common thing, and as it turned out, this mobile free zone is merely a test case that's applied on a few local train routes. I decided to complain to customer service, but also listen to my girlfriend. We didn't make it personal by calling out that specific conductor. Maybe he just had a really crappy day, but we just complained about the whole ordeal. Today, we actually got an answer. "Dear customer, we're sorry to hear that you didn't feel comfortable during your train ride, and that you considered the smartphone free zone as a decrease in customer service. That was never the intent of this test case. People are suggested not to use their phones, but this is not something we enforce because, as you mentioned yourself, people may need to check their connections or may need to consult other news regarding their trip, for which we actually encourage the use of the NS app. If someone did try to enforce this, then we'd like to hear back from you, NS Customer Service." We didn't respond. Now my girlfriend says that I probably should, but I don't know. So I figured I'd dump this on Reddit instead. Jumping down to the comment section on this one, there's one from a user called Captain Quick. It says, "I could understand it if the phone free was to mean no, you can't have a loud, obnoxious phone call." See, that one makes sense to me as well because we actually have those signs up in some of the medical places around here. It's a sign that says not to use your cell phone inside and take your phone calls outside away from the other people. It doesn't mean that you can't use your phone to do something quiet inside. They just don't want you bugging all the people around you. The conductor on that train took things a bit too far, but that might not be the conductor's fault. That seems to me to be a problem with the conductor's training. If they're not trained exactly on how to handle a situation, i.e. leave the person alone if they're on their phone and not bugging anybody, well, they don't know what to do in that situation, so they're going to interpret the rules how they want to. And, well, this guy interpreted them this way and was a dick about it too.